Hello. Welcome back to the family engagement. In this video, we are going to continue the family engagement discussion. Specifically, we will discuss some useful strategies that have been recommended by counselors and health professionals to build trusted working relationships with families and strengthening family-school connection, especially in working with challenging families. Let's get started. The strategies that we are going to share are the motivational interviewing strategies, or MI, and OARS skills. Our hope and our goal is for you to use these strategies that counselors and health professionals use commonly when interacting with clients. Many teachers and community health workers that we trained before also use these MI strategies and OARS skills when interacting with families and students. They also found these strategies useful to build trusted relationship and partnership with families and students. We love to share these with you. What is motivation interviewing? Motivational interviewing, or MI, is an empathic, person-centered communication or counseling approach that empowers individuals to make behavior change. The most important reason to use motivation interviewing is that behavior change does not happen merely as a result of providing information. Just because we know that engaging parents in children's learning is important and good for children is not enough for it to happen. Instead, we have to connect to parents' value about their roles in their child's education or connect to their belief about parenting. Only when parents see their engagement is in line with their value and belief, they are more likely to be engaged in supporting their children's education and life. In this video, we are going to share with you a few effective MI communication techniques that can help you find out parents' values and beliefs, so you can connect with them in a better way. By trying to understand parents' values, it makes them more likely to trust you and work with you to make changes and invest their time in supporting their children at home and in school activities. Before we get to the specific MI communication techniques, let me share a bit more about MI spirit. MI is a way of being with people that respects their autonomy and acknowledges them as the expert of their own life, such as we respect parents as their own expert of child rearing. MI spirit is characterized by a particular way of being during MI conversation. This includes showing compassion, acceptance, partnership, and evocation of respect in the process of interaction. Having MI spirit in teachers means teachers are supporting, guiding, and partnering with families with the goals of drawing out individual parents' as students' own strengths, reason, and motivation. If a teacher can show up with the MI spirit during parent-teacher or teacher-learner interaction, it can be powerful to build trusted relationship. For example, it will motivate parents want to collaborate with the teacher to make parenting changes to better support their children's development. It will also motivate students to listen and cooperate with teachers in classroom activities. With the MI spirit in mind, now, we are going to share with you the useful interaction techniques that are used often in the motivational interviewing approach. These skills are OARS skills. OARS stands for using open-ended questions, affirmation, reflections, or reflective listening, and summaries, or summary reflections. In our own experience in working with teachers and educators, we have found these skills to be very effective and helpful in engaging in building relationships with families, adults, and other co-workers, more generally, and in navigating difficult moments. Let's get to detail for each OARS technique. Let's start with the O. The O in OARS stands for asking open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are a great way to show interest and respect for someone else's perspective. They promote exploration and have the power to open up the conversation. They start with words like how, what, when, where, and why, words that request more than just a yes or no answer and therefore provoke thought and exploration by the speaker. Some examples of starters for open-ended questions and conversation include: how do you? What have you tried? What are your ideas about? What about this makes you? Where do you see this happening? Why do you think? Tell me more about. On the other hand, close-ended questions, ones that start with do or did, are, and would, prompt for a short yes or no answer and potentially limit or stunt the conversation. Let's do a few practices by turning these close-ended questions, which tend to have a yes-no answer, to open-ended ones. You may pause the video and try to write down your answers. Let's change the first example to an open-ended question. We can change it. Do you want to try this strategy in your home's tour? What would this strategy look like in your home? How would you try to use this strategy in your home? We can change the second example. Are meal times difficult for you and your child? To tell me more about meal times in your home. What makes meal times difficult for you and your child? We can change the third example. Do you play with your child? To open-ended questions like, how do you engage or play with your child? When is your most favorite time with your child? Why do we use open-ended questions? What are the benefits? From the examples that we just seen, you can see there are many benefits. Open-ended questions are useful to open up more conversation, to promote exploration and learn from the speaker, like parents, to allow for a range of responses, to get more understanding about what a participant is sharing, and as a way to invite other perspectives and learn about others' values or beliefs. Let's now look at the A in OARS. The A stands for affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that recognize, support, and encourage the others. Affirmations should be genuine. You should be mindful of your tone when using affirmations and avoid sounding sarcastic. Affirmations should be based on observable evidence and focus on acknowledging something inside the person that's already there and not inserting our judgment about them. There are two kinds of affirmations. Lightweight affirmations, which express support and appreciation. For examples, we may affirm a colleague or a parent by saying, "Thanks for sharing your resource with us. I appreciate your thoughtful response, and I am so impressed you made it here on time. It's clear that you have thought a lot about how to help your child. It seems like the method you share will really work for you." By giving positive affirmations, you recognize the person's efforts and encourage them to do more of the positive behaviors. When you give affirmation to individuals and parents and recognize their effort to attend school activities, they are more likely to show up again in the future. Another kind of affirmation is heavyweight affirmations, which aim to affirm a person's character or positive traits. For examples, we may give heavyweight affirmation to a parent by saying, "You care a lot about your child and will do whatever it takes to see them succeed. You are so courageous for trying something new even though you worry that it will be hard." By giving parents positive heavyweight affirmations, they might feel that you know them and pay attention to their positive traits, which will help you build trusted partnership with them. They will also more likely to work with you and engage in school activities. Why affirmations? What are the benefits? We believe that affirmations help build relationships, show empathy, communicate respect, and support. Affirmations recognize past triumphs and efforts, especially when it comes to behavior change. Affirmations help validate someone's experience and show appreciation. Finally, affirmations help catch the person doing something right. Let's now look at the R in OARS. The R stands for reflection or reflective listening. Reflections are statements made to clarify the true meaning of what someone is saying. They reflect, as a mirror does, what people have said or what they are feeling. A reflection can simply give back, as a statement, not a question, what was heard without adding new information. Or can go deeper and interpret feeling or meaning heard by the listener. The goal of reflections is to provide clarity, empathy, and connection. There are two types of reflections: simple reflections and complex reflections. Simple reflections stay close to what the person has said without adding any new addition or extension of information. You can repeat an element or phrase of what the person stated, or rephrase what was heard without interpretation. For example, a teacher says, "I just cannot imagine giving up all my power during the 5 minutes playtime." You can do a simple reflection and say, "You cannot imagine letting the child have all the power." Using the same example, you can rephrase what was heard with interpretation and say, "It is difficult to picture what this could look like." Again, simple reflections stay close to what the person has said by repeating what the person tell you. By using simple reflection, you make the person know that you are paying attention on the key message that they are trying to tell you, and showing you care about them by listening to them. Complex reflection go a step further. Complex reflection means actively listening to what the speaker is feeling or meaning. It is similar to paraphrasing and taking a guess to open up the conversation. When using complex reflection, you can guess the emotion behind what you hear, or guess the meaning of what you hear. For example, a teacher says, "I just cannot imagine giving up all my power during the 5 minutes playtime." You can use a complex reflection and say, "You are worried about letting the child have all the power." Using the same example, you can also use a complex reflection and say, "It is hard to give up power." You might have noticed when using complex reflection, you pay attention to the feeling and meaning you are hearing and then give it back in a statement, not a question. If you get it right, you are offering accurate empathy to the speaker. This is powerful. If you are wrong, the speaker will correct you and you'll gain valuable information. Let's summarize. Why use reflections? What are the benefits? As you can see from the examples, a reflection helps people feel seen and heard. A reflection lets you check that you understand what has been shared and shows your desire to understand the person. A reflection also allows people to clarify their thoughts and establishes and maintains trust and safety. We think of reflections as a way to start the conversation, to provide empathy, respect, and understanding, and to avoid miscommunications. Once you've created the environment of empathy and understanding and develop good relationship, you can then move from reflecting into asking some exploratory questions or asking permission to find or share solutions. Let's now look at the S in OARS. The S stands for summaries or summary reflections. Summaries are a way to quickly restate many points that were brought up by an individual or a group. Let's read through the examples below and see if you can do a few exercises on using summary reflections. For example, when you hear a dialogue between teacher and caregiver saying, "I just cannot imagine giving up all my power during 5 minutes of playtime." And a response, "I agree. I'm also worried that these strategies will take up too much of my day." What can you say to summarize the information you hear? You may pause the video and write down what you would say. You may summarize the conversation by saying, "I hear you both. It feels hard to give up power, and you feel that you don't have time to try the strategies." Let's try another example. When you hear a coworker tell you, "It feels like I am always doing things wrong. My boss has told me that I need to improve my skills, but I feel like I'm doing my best. I have 3 children at home, and they are always asking me to do this or that. What am I supposed to do?" In this example, you may summarize this by saying, "Wow, you have so much on your mind. You are trying hard to improve your skills and work with your boss, and at home as well. You feel overwhelmed." Let's recap. Why do we use summaries? What are the benefits? Summaries are a way to quickly restate many points that were brought up by an individual or a group. Summaries, like reflections, allows you to check your understanding and the speaker feels heard. When summarizing for a group, you can make connections and commonalities between many participants. In this video, we learn about MI spirit and OARS skills. When we combine strategies and skills, we can build trusted relationship with families and students, and better engage and partner with families. From our years of experience, what connects parents to your school is the relationships parents have with teachers and you. We want to support you in making meaningful connections with families. We are confident that using these reflective listening skills coupled with working with families to implement strategies at home that you are working on at school will ensure that your students thrive. Give those strategies a try when you interact with others.